Now we're officially kicking off season 2 of the show. I just need to breathe. Okay, cool.
Hello and welcome to the Real Biz Love Chronicles, where we discuss all things business, branding and life. I'm your host, Tracy Fryer. Now we're officially in the second season of the show, coming to you from the Horizon Digital Podcast Recording Studio. With that being said, I have a very special guest lined up for you today. He was my first guest on the show last year. I know that no matter what introduction I give this person, it will not really capture his brilliance, but for those of you that know me, I am always up for a challenge, so here goes. Having worked with this person for the last 3 years, I can without a doubt say that he has helped me become a better leader, a better business owner, and a human, and I feel extremely blessed to have someone like this in my corner helping me navigate through business and life. It's one of those people who tends to leave you that much better after every conversation you have with him, giving him a new perspective and elevating and challenging your thinking. He finished the year off on 8,000 cycling Ks, and I just want to say I recently started using my exercise bike, and 20 minutes on that thing almost killed me, so 8,000 Ks is incredible. His clients describe him as driven, caring and resourceful and supportive. He is a proven entrepreneur, investor and a seasoned advisor who is on a mission to help business owners get their win. He is the founder of Paul Claessen Consulting. Paul, welcome.
Thanks for the introduction.
Paul, I'd love to know, what is a defining moment in your life that fundamentally changed how you view the world or yourself?
I think there's probably been two defining moments that changed how I view myself. The first, ironically, was the very first business book I read, which was It Ain't As Easy As It Looks, which was the story of Ted Turner, who's the guy that started CNN. And well, firstly, it made me realise I can read a book, because up until then I hated fiction. I just hated fiction. I could never get through a book of fiction. So I'd always characterised myself or believed that I couldn't read. And I managed to consume this book in probably an afternoon. I borrowed it off a friend and gave it back to him that day. And he said, "Oh, didn't you like it?"
Yeah. I
said, "I loved it." And he was like, "Well, why didn't you finish it?" I said, "I did finish it." He was amazed that I could do it. I guess the story of that book is Ted Turner he took over a business. He thought of himself as the idiot son of a brilliant dad. His dad was absolutely racked with bipolar disorder, and his dad committed suicide. So he ended up running this business. He took this business over and he didn't believe he could do it. And I look at most entrepreneurial journeys or most business owner journeys, and everybody's struggles with this whole imposter syndrome, which is a term I loathe. But everybody thinks that they're doing something that they're not capable of doing, which is probably true. I don't think anyone's capable of running a business. They're such difficult things. Just seeing what he did with that business through grit, hard work and determination really changed my view of what a business owner is all about. So that's one. And I think the second one's a bit of a negative one, but ultimately became a very positive outcome for me, and that was the failure of my first business. I couldn't describe to anybody how deep a kick in the guts that experience was. It was a massive blow to my ego. I felt, I had always defined myself as a business owner, and then when you're not, like when you don't have a business to go to each day, it really, really It diminished me as a person for a period of time, and the process I went through to recover from that is precisely how I operate today. So even though it was a horrific experience to go through, and I would never advocate to anybody to go through that, I felt it really taught me some very, very important lessons about who I am and what you need to do when you either experience or you're staring down failure. And I guess fundamentally it's that failure is a thing that happens to you. It's not a thing that defines you. You are not a failure. You've experienced failure. So that to me was they're probably two big defining moments of my life.
And are you happy to share some of the lessons that you learned?
From what? The book?
From the second thing that you shared.
From the failure?
Yeah.
Allow yourself to sulk. I had a little sulk period. I actually put in my diary, I noted in my diary a date where I said end of sulk period. I've still got 7 days left of that. So if I ever need to have a sulk, I've still got 7 days up my sleeve.
Oh, right.
So I took myself out of the sulk zone 7 days early. I think allow yourself to sulk. It's really important, I think, at all stages of life that you're very conscious about what you're grateful for. And when you go through a failure, it's very easy to look inwards, think that everything's worthless, all of these sorts of things. And a really good friend of mine at the time, Elton Swartz, who is the owner of WA Business News, made me sit down and create an inventory of the things that I'm grateful for. And I guess looking back on it, probably him forcing me to do that exercise is something I'm extraordinarily grateful for. But like what you end up being grateful for is what you care about. And if you care about it, you work on it. And if you work on it, you get better at it. So those things that you're grateful for actually create the pathway out of the failure. I think that's one. So you allow yourself to sulk, work out what you're grateful for. And I think helping others, when you help others, it's really, really hard to feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
It's extraordinarily hard to feel bad about yourself when you're helping others. And even though you've gone through this horrible experience, and it's only your horrible experience. I mean, someone living in Africa who hasn't eaten for a month doesn't really care two shits about your business failure. They're more worried about feeding their family. So it's your horrible experience, and I think it's important to realise that. But when you go through a horrible experience, if you stop and look out, and if you're operating in service of something, I don't know, you kind of stop thinking about your own worries because you're very focused on other people's worries and how you can contribute to that. And you know, like people were asking me to help them in the immediate aftermath of this failure. I felt so fraudulent. Like I was thinking to myself, what in God's green earth could I help you with? I've just failed. And, you know, like you just kind of, you know, necessity forces you to kind of look past that. And it's not until a period of time later you realise that in doing that, you are able to almost just forget about your own perceived views of this horrific event that happened to you and blah, 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 blah. You just create proportions around something that's so much greater than it actually is. And you can make those proportions smaller over time by looking to help people rather than looking to help yourself.
And was it people asking for business help or?
Yeah, I'm a really algorithmic human. I'm like really, really algorithmic. I just follow algorithms. So I thought, well, the best way to get out of the house is go and have a coffee with someone. Otherwise, I was just going to sit inside the house. So I just kind of had this thing of like go and have a coffee with someone each day. That was my little goal each day. Just set myself a tiny little goal to go and have a coffee. So I was having coffees with people and having, you know, chit chats about business, and through that, like you'd get these introductions, and you'd get like people just like I think they just gravitated to me by virtue of me just going and having those coffees, and I guess being open. I mean, I was very ashamed of what I went through, and it still scars me. I'm not gonna lie about that. But by just talking about their business and talking about how I could possibly help them, and it wasn't even like I wasn't out there pitching for consulting gigs. I didn't even think about the money. I just thought, well, how can I help these people? It just built its own little momentum. I didn't have to think too much about it.
And is that where Paul Claessen Consulting started?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah,
because I had this view all the time that, you know, my family are all teachers, and, you know, like the cliche you hear, my father, my mother was a teacher, my aunties, you know, and my uncles, lots and lots of teachers in my family. I'm the black sheep, you know, they're all dyed-in-the-wool socialists and I'm not. But you know, the kind of cliche that rings in your head all the time is if you can't do it, you teach. So I had this idea that being a business coach was a bad thing and blah, blah, blah. So I was always looking to get back into another active business. I always had this thought about I've got to get back into an active business. So I did business coaching until an opportunity came along for me to buy into a business. And then I bought into that business. But in short, yes, that's where it came from. I'd never thought of myself of doing that. I'd always thought that I should be operating an active business.
And how does the fact that you teach now sit with you?
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. Honestly, it's it sounds like a horrible cliche, and sorry if it sounds like a Hallmark card. I feel like I've been practicing for 30 years for this moment. That's how it feels.
Paul, something I think you're really great at is when one is in a bit of a slump or you're going through a really tough time, you do help pull someone out of that darkness. Would you say if someone is in that situation, the first step to take is to go for a coffee? Actually, I think that's the first thing you did to me when I was having a moment. Get outside, kind of get out of that headspace, because I think a lot of people can get caught up in that failure or dark moment that they're going through, and it almost paralyzes you in some way. Would that be the first thing you'd recommend that they do?
Well, there's lots and lots of studies now that the leading cause of depression getting worse right now, and I'm certainly not a psychologist nor a psychiatrist. I just want to make that clear. But there's lots of research to point to the fact that people who have an event that might put them in a depressive state of mind, that state of mind is either exaggerated or exacerbated by rumination, just constant thinking about it. And, brain science tells you that when you're just like sitting with your own thoughts, you're using the parts of the brain that only stimulate stress responses. So that constant thinking about it, you bind yourself up in the problem, and you just kind of constantly reinforcing with this negative self-talk about how bad you are and, what you fucked up and why you're a failure and all these sorts of things. And it's very difficult to get your way out of that. And again, like I say, you're very bound up in the problem then. Just talking about it creates the need for, the act of moving your mouth means that your prefrontal cortex has to be working. Well, the prefrontal cortex, the modern executive function of the brain, allows you to separate yourself from the problem, abstraction. It allows you to look at the problem as an external thing. It's not something that is you, it's something that happened to you. And I think just it kind of allows you to see the problem for what it is. It gives it proportions. It gives it the appropriate level of gravity. And at the end of the day, like, okay, a business failure, you don't mind me swearing in your podcast?
No, go for it.
Okay, you fucked up. You've got a right to fuck up. Like, you don't have to be perfect. The pressure of being perfect is extraordinary. So I think just talking about it, but even if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. Just get out and talk, because the act of talking will engage the prefrontal cortex and probably subconsciously allow you to move away from the problem. Don't bind yourself up in the problem. That ancient brain, the amygdala, that was really appropriate when there were saber-toothed tigers and people lived in caves.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have time to stop and, reason with the saber-toothed tiger and say, hey, dude, I know you're having a bad day and you're probably hungry and you just want to feed your family. Like, you couldn't negotiate like that. You had those basic symptoms, flight, fight and fright, and there's a fourth one which I won't talk about. So you had very basic tools to deal with those things in those days. Well, now we have houses. And we have weapons and, we have all of these things that buy you a bit of time. So the prefrontal cortex is the more appropriate tool to deal with problems. So talking engages the prefrontal cortex. If you're feeling comfortable enough and brave enough to talk about the problem, great, talk about it. If you're not, just go and talk shit. Literally talking about nothing actually helps you process the issue.
So it's as effective?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I find it. Well, like you go and have a chin wag with someone, and you talk, like my favourite thing at the minute is US politics. Even if you're really, really stressed about something, going having a yak about shit that's meaningless to you, actually, like, you walk away from that, you always feel lighter. And the reason is your prefrontal cortex has done a fair bit of working, and it's taken a bit of that workload off the amygdala.
And Paul, I'd love to know, from your failure, is there one lesson that you learned that you couldn't have learned any other way?
Yeah, just be humble. Be humble. That was a big business and it was impactful business, and I was the face of that industry. So I was the person deployed to go and fight the Auditor General, and I was the person that was deployed to stand up at events and argue with Bob Kachira. And I won't lie, it makes you feel probably more important than you are. And I think you just got to realise it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're solving a problem, you're adding value, you're helping people on their journey, you're making money. All they are the things that matter. Who you are in that pile is an absolute speck of shit in the universe. It doesn't matter. You're not that important. And I think when you realise that you're not that important, you kind of realise that people aren't talking about you.
Yeah.
No one cares about you.
No one does.
Like, absolutely no. And that's fine. That's a great thing.
It's quite freeing.
Yeah, if you can just have that humility of saying, well, I'm just but a speck of shit in the universe, like it allows you to say, well, I'll just focus on what's important.
And Paul, my next question is, what is a risk that you took that scared you but ultimately paid off in unexpected ways?
You know, if you put it all in context for me, I experienced failure and I experienced failure at a point where I had a very high profile. My natural inclination was to stay under the radar. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to
I remember you saying
be out in the public's eye. So that's a risk, and that's paid off for me. Tracy, I just think, you know, every day you're having to take a risk, and if you take the right risks for the right reasons, they pay off. I know that's a very generic answer, but I think every day, you know, like people seek to zero risk. Well, if you zero risk, you, by definition, zero return. So to sit there and say, I don't want any risk in my life is a complete fallacy. And you will end up not living life. So I would say I wake up at 5 a.m. in the middle of winter and go riding my bike when it's pitch black and wet. That's a risk.
Yeah.
You know, does it pay off? Well, you know, individually it doesn't pay off, but like over the long term, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I feel great, and you know that pays off. You know, I go and I engage with clients. There's risks involved in that.
Yeah.
You know, I hire staff. There's risk involved in that. Like, all of these things carry risk, so long as you're doing the right things, which is you pick the right risk, you expect a return from it, and you seek to mitigate the downside. Well, like, you have to take risk. So all risk should pay off. Like, you can't have no risk. It doesn't work.
And I guess, how do you know with your clients, like, when to kind of push them to take that risk or not? Because I know with me sometimes I've been like, hell no. And you're like, Trace, just you break it down in ways that I can understand. And you're like, Trace, just take the next step and just, you know, do those incremental 1%ers, and then you get there. How do you gauge where someone's at? Do you find you can push most people, or some are just completely not keen?
I just listened to a podcast. I listened to the Founders podcast. Founders podcast tells me which books to read, and I'm going to read the book as well. So the book I'm going to read is The NVIDIA Way, but it was the summary of that book, which is mostly about Jensen Huang, who runs NVIDIA. And the quote that he said, which I really love, and I feel it resonates for me, is, I don't give up on people, but I do make them suffer until they succeed. Yeah. I don't think people understand their own abilities. I think because you get caught up in the internal chat.
Oh, completely.
And you think, oh, I just won't do this, or I just won't do that, or, you know, no, that's beyond me. All of these sorts of things. So what do? I push, I support, I cajole, I manipulate, I drive, I hassle, but before I do that, I stop and I think, what's really important for that person in that business, and I will I'm like water on a rock. I'll just keep on working on that person until they see. Yeah. And sometimes it takes years. Like I have engaged with clients over years where I'm still trying to get them to do the fundamentally important thing that I think they need to do in service of their own goals and aspirations. And I'm comfortable enough to know that people always revert to type because there's safety in that story, right? So I'm just trying to get them to rewrite the story in their head. I know that if I just try and bash someone over the head, or you know, like I've heard a lot of coaching advice, which is, you know, if a client doesn't do what you want them to do, quit. And it's like, I'm not going to do that. I don't think that's correct. So that's how I do it.
And speaking of which, Paul, how is it that you offer such a tailored service? So I hope you don't mind. I asked a few of your clients to give me 3 words that best describe you. So I'm just going to read a few of them. So I had Glenn from Beecham Group describe you as hyper-competitive, focused, different from what you may expect. Wiramu described you as a stable presence, logical and intentional. Soph from Quickmail described you as insightful, driving, caring and supportive. Mel described you as dedicated, resourceful and driven. How is it that you provide such a tailored service to your clients and that you always are so like 159% committed?
well, I guess I'm either committed or not.
Yeah, but not everyone is always like that, right?
I don't care. That's their journey. It's not mine.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do something, I want to do it properly. And if I'm going to say, I think it's a moral hazard to say to somebody, I'll guide you through your business, and then roll up once a week or once a fortnight or whatever and say, oh, why don't you try this? And then the next fortnight say, oh, how'd you go?
Been there before.
Well, what's the point? I don't understand the point of that. I wouldn't take money off people. To me, that's false pretenses. So I thought very carefully about what I want, and what I want is to be a person that has impact.
Yeah.
Not someone that can roll up and sell an hour to someone. I could go bash shit up a wall for hours at a time. Like, it doesn't matter. I want to be a person that has impact. Now, you're running a business, but you're also a business owner. So I have to care about the business, and I have to care about the person as a business owner. So I don't even consider that to be 159% committed. I just think it's committed. That's what I need to do, and that's impact. And I don't want to have a negative impact, so I have to have a positive impact. So how does that then translate to a practical outcome? I don't want to roll up once a fortnight and say, oh, Tracy, how's your business going?
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste any of your time you telling me where your business is at. So I have to think about and I'm talking specifically about the clients that I engage with on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to my Ignite sessions as well. But anyone that engages me one-to-one, they're engaging me to act like a business owner without giving me any shares. Like a partner in their business without them having to share profits or share equity. So I have to act like that. Now imagine if you had a partner in your business that rolled up once a week or once a fortnight and said, what's happening? Why have them as a partner? It's a dead weight. In Ignite, the way I do that, because I can't practically provide that level of customs, involvement in every business in Ignite, because it's a group coaching session, I spend untold amounts of time trying to work out how to deliver each session and all the tools in a way that they can walk away and execute tomorrow if they so chose. So I spend huge amounts of time thinking about the content I deliver in Ignite, because business is fucking hard. And so many people stand up and say, this is what you should do. And no one tells you how to do it. And I suspect it's because not many people know actually how to do it. So I sit and I think about 30 years of sitting in the seat, having the same panics and stresses and annoyances and frustrations as people who run a business. And I think, well, how did I solve it? How can I explain how I solved it? And that means that you have to break it down to really, really not patronising, but simple mechanisms so people can execute it. And I want them, when they're doing it, to have my voice in their head saying, don't fucking do that. Do it this way. That's what I want, because that's like, okay, great. They're doing it. At least they're doing it. They're following the process. They can modify the process, not my jam.
Yeah.
But, that's how that's what I would call dedication. If it's a group training session, make sure the content is absolutely executable. It means you've got to break it down so somebody could take it away and use it tomorrow. In one-to-one, I think about what would they expect of me as a business partner, and I'll act like that. I just don't ask for any equity or any profit.
And this me I wanted to read, and again, this isn't just like a shameless plug for you, because I just think this really showcases your dedication. So one of your clients wrote, Paul will make time for his clients no matter the time or of day. He'll have a meeting at 6 a.m. or 10 p.m. at night, even if clients need to meet on Sunday. Really emulates the phrase, always there for you. He is resourceful. His wealth of knowledge is unparalleled. If he doesn't know something, he'll research it until he is an expert. His ability to absorb and retain information is second to none. He is driven. I have never met someone who works as hard as he does, both in business, life, and building a successful business, one after the other. And also they mentioned your 8,000 Ks that you achieved in cycling. How on earth did you do that?
Every week, make sure I ride.
Oh, my gosh.
But, I was in the week between Christmas and New Year, I was 600 Ks short. Yeah. So I rode 600 Ks I had to just get the goal done. So I got 8. It's actually, please don't sell me short. Oh. It's 8,000 kilometres and 40 metres.
Right. Strava. I'll blame Strava for that information.
40 metres. There's the all-important 40 metres. They're really kind words, and it's nice to hear that. The truth of the matter is a bit uglier than that. It's just like literally I just think, well, how do I make sure I'm having this positive impact? And if there's a problem to solve, someone's got to solve it. Someone's got to solve it. So it's like, well, if you're in the business and you're getting pounded every day by clients and your staff are annoying you, or your staff just can't do the job and you've got the ATO crawling all over and you've got all of these things, and then you're tired and you're stressed, and well, like if somebody's paying me to help them with their business, why would I not solve it?
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear that, but to me it's a whole lot more practical. The problems have to get solved. And if business is just an endless sequence of problems and I can help people solve them, because that's what business is. That's how you grow your business. You know, if you think I've done $1 million in revenue this year and next year I want to do 2, well, every dollar of that revenue past $1 million is something you've never done before. So that means there's up to 1 million different problems you've got to solve, new problems, or solve the old problems in a new way. Well, if I can help people solve those problems, someone can go from 1 million to 2.
Yeah.
So I find it, like, when I say it's a bit uglier than that, it's literally just like thinking, oh God, Tracy's got a lead gen problem. Christ, how do you solve that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, I'll sit and I'll read a few books, which is precisely what I did over Christmas. It's not just you, but like I have a few clients that have some, issues around predictable flow of leads. So I thought, well, best I solve this. So I think I read 5 books, watched an endless amount of YouTube videos, and sat and distilled all of that information, went, right, this is how I think it's done, because it was all very consistent.
Yeah. Have you a break?
It was over Christmas, yes.
Well, I think you underestimate that not everyone would do that over their Christmas break. And I think that's why it's so nice to hear those words about you, because I think it's the absolute truth. Not every coach or advisor is going to sit on their Christmas break and try and solve a lead gen problem. They're probably out partying or on their yacht that they put on Insta.
They can do what the fuck they want. It's not my journey. And I don't talk ill of any other coach. Coaches are really, really important. It's just my style. And I'm not for everybody. I mean, I get that. I'm hyper direct. I'm very, very high expectation of people. Like if I engage with a person, I'm not here flipping chickens.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Like, fucking do the job or don't do the job. And if you don't want to do the job, fine, let's just disengage. Stop wasting your money with me. But like if you got something you want to get done, and I'm not going to be the guy that every coaching session you walk away feeling great about yourself. Sometimes you might walk away feeling like complete shit. But I'm not going to do that for my own ego. I'm going to do that because I think that's what the person needs.
Yeah.
So I don't ever think about what other coaches or advisors do. I never think about it. It's just like, well, that's what they do. That's their style. I'm very numerically driven. I'm very algorithmically driven, and I'm very dedicated to saying, if this is what we set out to do at the start of the year, I know your numbers off the top of my head. If that's what we set out to do, well, I'm going to work my ass off to help you get it done.
Is there a piece of advice or wisdom that has stayed with you through the highs and lows of your journey?
You know what? The 2 most influential people in my life were Nana Claessen and Nana Jones. And there's a couple of things two things they both reinforced in me, which at the time I kind of wrote it off because I was just a kid. And one was that, it's that kind of classic cliche. If you say you can or you say you can't, you're probably correct.
Yeah.
And Nana Claessen used to always say to me, if you think you can do it, you can do it. So don't ever think that you can't do something. And Nana Jones was a lot more practical than that. She was just more like, why can't you do it? And the other thing that they both had very strong views upon, or strong views about, was that the strong must look after the weak. And that's not a patronising thing. It was basically, if you had skills or ability or just any level of capability to help someone, it's your obligation to help. So those 2 things, the strong must look after the weak, and if you say you can or you say you can't, you're probably correct.
And Paul, there's often a few quotes that you share with me.
Oh God, some of the words. Let's not.
I've put in the checked ones.
Oh, good. ChatGPT often says, no, we can't put that in there.
Yeah, or it's very quirky.
Yeah.
So one of them that you shared is, I don't try to avoid the blood noses, I look for the lesson.
It's the same thing. No matter what you're doing, if you're growing a business or growing yourself, you're doing something you've never done before.
Yeah.
The likelihood is you're going to get a few blood noses along the way. So rather than then going, oh, I won't do that because I might get another blood nose, it's important to say, well, what caused me to get that blood nose?
Yeah.
And how can I potentially – I don't think you can even avoid them, Tracy. I think you just have to sort of say, well, how do I either prepare myself for the pain or avoid the pain of the blood nose? Because you're just always doing things that you've never done before. And don't expect it to be smooth sailing, because it's not. It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Anyone running a business is probably certifiably insane, and that's an okay thing, because the world needs a lot of really insane humans. It's just such a hard job. And if you think about it as a small business owner, yay, we get to carry the entire weight of the economy. We get none of the capital. We get none of the expertise, and it's really, really hard to sell a small business. It's like, on what sane level would anyone choose to do it? So if the personality type that goes into a small business is a little bit nutty, great, because you're doing something that is illogical, but then expect that there's going to be a fair few bits of pain dispensed to you along the way. And if that's the case, don't sulk about it. Don't whinge that, you're getting blood noses. That's the game. That's the sport you're in. Look for the lessons, or look for how to mitigate the pain or eliminate the pain.
The other one that you shared was there are 3 things that very successful people have in common: major attention to detail, long-term vision, and they work hard as fuck.
I would kind of say, like, in order to be successful, you need a combination of one of 3 things. You need to be extraordinarily smart, extraordinarily hardworking, and there's got to be a massive opportunity ahead of you. So, like, you have to work out, like, if you're super smart, fine. Then you also need a big opportunity, or you need to work really hard. Or if it's a massive opportunity and you work really hard, great. Or if you're a hard worker and it's a big opportunity, like, you don't need to be as smart, but like, you've got to try and work out where you sit in that triangle. And find me a successful person that hasn't worked really hard, hasn't thought about the future. I mean, like, no successful entrepreneur sits here and says, oh, you know what, I think I'll get to 1 million and that's it, I'll stop.
Yeah. They
get to X and they keep going. That's long-term vision. And typically they're chasing a big opportunity. Like, if there's 3 potential clients for something, what's the point? So, yeah, that's what, you look at someone like Bill Gates, and what was the vision of Microsoft? To put a computer on everyone's desktop. That's not thinking about, like, you're not thinking about, I have two delicatessens and life's great.
Yeah, yeah.
So all of those things force you to think in a way that's different to how other people have done it. Because if you do exactly what everybody else has done, you can't win. So you have to have vision, you have to work hard, and there's got to be a big opportunity.
And Paul, in terms of your own strengths, what do you believe your biggest strength is, and how has it helped you on your path?
I have a high appetite for pain.
Yeah?
I like pain. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I think when you are pursuing pain, like when you do something to the extent that it hurts you, there's a couple of things that happen. Like, the second time you experience that pain, somehow it doesn't hurt as much.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think secondly, like, you find your own truth. You find your own truth. Like, if you don't go out to suffer, you'll sit there with a version of truth that's not attached to reality. If you go out with this mindset that I've got to do this so, intensively or for so long or whatever that it hurts, then you find out what you can actually do. And that's like in business, that's in athletics, it's in all facets of life. I think pain is a very good revealer of the truth. And people, I don't know, I hear all these modern day, let's call them like life advisors, and they seem to be very focused on you should be comfortable and you should seek balance.
Balance, yeah. It's a popular one.
Fucking, where is balance in life? Like, find me a single thing on the planet that's balanced. In actual fact, everything is imbalanced. Now, if you want to work 100 hours a week, stop feeling guilty.
Yeah.
Do it. If you want to work 20 hours a week, do that. But neither of those two things are balanced. And my really, really massive the thing that makes me bristle about this balance thing, and everyone talks about work-life balance. I was like, okay, how do you get work-life balance? Apportion your time 50-50. Now, okay, you're a business owner and you're sitting out and having dinner with the family, and a major client rings up and says, I've got a major problem, and if we don't get it solved, I'm leaving you. What do you do? Oh, sorry, mate, I'm on family time.
Yeah.
Click. Well, you're not going to have much more family time because you're not going to have much of a business if you keep doing that. Equally, if you're sitting in a client meeting and your kids ring up and they've just, I don't know, won some sort of great award and done some amazing thing, and you say, oh, look, sorry, I'm on work time at the minute. Do you mind not? Well, I don't actually think that's balanced. I think it's confusing. It's like, to me, it's just like, well, do what you want to do, live with the consequences of it, and maximise your life. So I've kind of got a bit off track there from your question,
great.
but I do find this whole pursuit of comfort and pursuit of balance, I find it very confusing because if you don't know what pain looks like, when the inevitable pain is dispensed to you, how have you prepared yourself for it? What do you say to the competitor that's coming and taking your business from you? Oh, do you mind?
Yeah.
I'd rather comfort, so can we not compete against each other? If it's someone like me against you, I'm going to just say, thank you, I'll take it all.
Yeah.
Now, that sounds aggressive, but people think like that. They might not be as direct as me. That's how they think. So I do think there is so much benefit in the pursuit of pain because it prepares you for everything. Things aren't as stressful. I find that because I constantly pursue pain, when shit is real, I'm really calm.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, I've seen this before. I'm not that worried. Why don't we just do this?
Yeah.
Let's just do one thing at a time. That to me is a positive benefit of the pursuit of pain.
And I also find with myself, like your confidence in handling that situation also builds as well. I think something else you said to me was you have to just decide, there'll always be fires burning, but you have to decide which ones you're going to focus on, because I used to try to do all of them at once.
But you can't.
No, I know.
Fight the fires that matter and let the fires burn. Like, you have to let fires burn. If you don't let fires burn in your business, you'll never actually put out the major fire.
Yeah.
So you'll end up being consumed with fires that you can't fight.
Yeah.
So fight the fires that matter, and then once that one's extinguished or under control, look for the next one.
Yeah.
And then look for the next one. It's so because like people try and do everything all the time, like in this bizarre pursuit of balance. It's like, what the fuck? You are completely confusing yourself.
Well, you often speak about, for your clients to get their win. I'd love to know, what does your win look like?
Impact.
In what way?
So Design Studio Perth, that means you, pushed and pushed and pushed. And I say that jokingly, but I'm very grateful for the fact you did it. Pushed me to build my profile. And I'm like, well, if I've got a profile, I need to do something with it. So it really forced me to think about, well, how can I continue growing my business? This is where the whole group coaching thing came from. For me, a win, and it's only the interim win because I'm sure I'll set another goal when I achieve this. I want to have 1,000 clients that I'm working with. And I kind of think about that. I always think about it if I shuffled off the planet. Like I always just think if I shuffled off the planet tomorrow and I'd impacted 1,000 business owners positively, I reckon I could be pretty proud of that.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to have that on my tombstone. And no, I don't think about these things about what would I write on my tombstone. I think it's just garbage. But like in my mental tombstone, it would be nice to think that I helped 1,000 people fulfill their dream, even if it's only by 1%, because 1% is enough for me.
Yeah.
Right. I don't chase 1%, but I always have to, so I don't just completely consume myself with thoughts of failure. I have to say, well, if I help someone 1%, that's a good outcome. So if I find 1,000 people and I can positively impact them, great, brilliant news.
And does Paul Claessen have anything that he fears?
Yeah, snakes.
On the larger scale, like, is there anything
heights?
that you...
I'm so scared of heights.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Snakes and heights.
Failure. Failure. I hate losing.
Yeah, I think Glenn said that. You're
Oh,
hyper competitive.
I cannot. I have the horrible duo of I love winning and I hate losing. Like losing is the most disgusting feeling for me, and it's never about being beaten by someone. I don't like if someone's better than me, they're better than me. But it's like if I didn't give it my absolute everything, and as a consequence I lost. Oh my God, I kick myself, and I'll kick myself harder than anyone can kick me.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
That's a little bit of an advantage for me because if I'm going one-on-one against somebody and they say something nasty to me in the the height of battle, I just think, dude, nothing you can say to me is worse than what I'm saying to myself right now. So say what you want. Yeah. I'm all good.
Yeah, I think Glenn said Paul is hyper competitive. He hates losing in any way, shape or form.
Any way, shape or form. It's actually my biggest failing. I've got to work on it because sometimes I just can't reconcile the idea that a loss could happen to me.
Does it give you a drive though?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there one bit of advice you could give a business owner off the top of your head?
Work hard. Work hard. And think about it this way. If you're not gifted with some grand strategy that allows you to like win business easily, here's an easier way of saying it. The best strategy is hard work.
Yeah.
If you've done 3 more things than your competition, by the end of the week you've done 15 more. 15 more.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, you've done 750 more of something than the person you're competing against. You'll win. You'll win just by working hard. You'll win. So work hard. I think, and stop this kind of this. Like everybody is in business and they're looking for the answer.
Yeah.
Like tell me how to solve lead gen. It's like, I don't know. Because it's so multivariate, right? Tell me how to solve the people problem. I don't know. What I can tell you is if you work hard and use a system and continually pursue perfection, the best people, the best quality leads, the best performance in your business, it's all the answers appear to all of the problems that you'll experience along the way. So work hard. And I can't emphasize that enough. And if you don't want to work hard, that's fine. It's not for me to tell somebody to work hard. It would be the advice I give. But if you don't want to work hard, accept that you're going to get beaten. And therefore set your expectations and set your goals and set all of the things around that. I have a client, I won't say who it is, who absolutely mandates that she never works on school holidays. Chapeau, great. I know the parameters. Right now, it might mean that you find staff that work hard and you overpay them. Yeah. Fine. But the accumulative output of your business has to be high. Now, I would say you've got to work hard. You, as a business owner, I just don't know another antidote to the problems that you're going to experience in business. Just work hard and be proud of the fact that you work hard. And when the inevitable person who works at BHP or person that works at Rio or person that works for the government tells you, Tracy, you work too hard, nod your head blithely and say thank you.
Yeah.
And let them have their own story. Just it's not your problem that they think you work too hard. I don't know how you can win in business unless you work. And look at all the people. Jensen Huang, look at Steve Jobs, look at Tim Cook, look like anyone you can name in business, think about and look at the things that they've achieved and take that from the mega caps like the Apples and the Nvidias and the Teslas of the world and take it right back to businesses that might be doing $100 million a year.
Yeah.
I will promise you the owner is working damn hard. And it might not be at the desk work, but you're always thinking about it.
Yeah.
Don't be lazy about your business. You are there to serve your clients. And the amount of profit you make is a direct reflection on how well you serve those clients. Build a pile of money, shut your business down or sell it.
Yeah.
When you've had enough, when you don't want to work anymore. But I don't see how it's anything but that binary. That would be my advice. Just work hard.
One thing I find with myself is that, I'm very driven, but I almost feel not guilty taking the weekend off, but I always think I'm losing 2 days.
Probably are.
But is it you were saying it's not wrong to work on the weekends then?
No,
because
I'm saying I don't think it's wrong.
Yeah.
If you're a Christian, as an example, often Christians, is it the Sabbath?
Yeah, Sunday.
Right. Observe Sunday. Fine. I observe Saturday.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to do any work on a Saturday. Now, if a client texts me, I'll respond, but it's going to be a pretty sharp response, yes or no.
Yeah.
But I don't want to work on Saturdays. I want one day a week where it's just not for work.
Yeah,
Sunday,
agreed.
Sunday just gone, I worked from 7 a.m. I think I stopped at 10.
Gee.
Right? Now, I don't say that with any sense of pride or any sense of guilt. I say that as a matter of fact. That's what I had to do to get the job done. So, like, I don't know. Like, I don't think about it as Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, this, that, or the other thing. I just think, like, if there's a job to get done, but I just have one day that's sacrosanct, and that's for me and mine.
And Paul, I'd love to know, what is your proudest moments as a business owner?
Oh, Tracy, there's been so many.
Good.
I think, and I think it's important to look back, but, you know, like, this is going to sound really, really cliched. I love seeing either staff or clients. I genuinely take a lot of pride in seeing a staff member or a client do something they thought they could never do.
Yeah.
I really love that. Now, I used to run a Pizza Hut when I was 17. That was my first managerial experience. And I can't remember his name. I wish Ed was his first name. I don't remember his surname. And when he started working for me, and I'm a 17-year-old manager, I didn't know anything about management, but I watched him kind of under my tutelage go from being like this shy, quiet, almost weird kid to being a little leader in his own right. And I think that sort of implanted something in my brain, but I love seeing people do things that they think they can't do.
Yeah.
And if I've had any influence over that, to me, that's brilliant. That's what I really like.
Yeah. Have you got time to do a live coaching session?
Okay, so let's, you and I work together. Why don't we structure it like, we have our standard part of our session each week, which is to go through the numbers. I'm not going to ask you to talk about the business numbers on a podcast, but then you have a set of questions that you typically ask me. So, and then I'll interrogate from you what the actual problem is, and then we'll work through what a proposed solution looks like, and then we'll distill that down to some decisions about what you can execute and how we can press forward. So I'm going to let you ask the questions, and I'd encourage you to think about, again, if you're happy to do so,
of course,
think about it in the context of your actual business. So ask me the questions as though you were asking me the questions.
Yeah, so how about I work through my lead gen situation that I had to we'll back up to that and then we can work through that.
Yep, go.
Cool. For Design Studio Perth, we were having an issue generating leads. I do majority of the business development, the sales. I'm only one person. So spoke to Paul about how we can generate more leads and fill up that funnel with more opportunity for the team, for our clients, and all of the above. So what Paul always does is goes through all my figures, which is really good because it's easy to get caught up in everything else, and whilst we shouldn't, tend to forget about those. So we always start a session by going over the figures and any key things that we want to discuss. I approached Paul with that question of how we can generate more leads for Design Studio Perth.
Go on, ask me the actual question you asked me. Say it the way you said it, because I remember it.
I can't remember. How do I make more money?
I think you said, I want to work on how I can close sales more easily.
Oh, right. Yes, that was. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for everybody's context, Tracy was panicking about her close rate. So what we actually did was work through the last 15 or 20 sales that she made and worked out that her close rate was actually quite good. And at the outset, Tracy was didn't believe me. And she was very focused on the idea. So a big part of what I do is almost like break the prevailing thought. The prevailing thought that Tracy had was that she wasn't closing. So, she was thinking she wasn't a good enough salesperson.
Yeah, definitely.
Which created a bit of dissonance for me because I've observed Tracy sell and I thought, well, no, in actual fact, she's a very good salesperson and I think your close rate was about 55%.
Yeah.
Now, I would always say that you probably need to be dealing with enough marketing qualified leads to the extent that you are only closing 30% of the marketing qualified leads that you get. So Tracy said, really, that seems ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. And we went through all of that sort of stuff. And in the end, I think we got to a point where she accepted or at the very least suspended her disbelief. And we went through the lead generation process. So then the next question I asked was,
how were we generating leads?
How do you generate leads today, Tracy? Talk me through how you generate leads.
How today or when I asked that question?
When you ask the question.
So
and you can act as petulantly as you did that day if you'd like.
It was mostly through networking.
Yeah.
Our networking was working really well because I network a lot, and then our social media and use it as strategy and our outreach was working great at the time.
Mm-hmm. What were the questions I asked you? So it's like, how many leads are you generating, Tracy? So tell me how many leads you're generating through networking.
Yeah. Do you want to know the figure? Oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know the stats, but it was
okay. But
maybe you can remember.
I want to highlight this because at the time you were very uptight. You were very stressed, and you were just continually saying, "I don't know. I don't track the numbers." And there was, it was a relatively heated conversation, if I remember rightly.
It was, yeah, because I think having to acknowledge the fact that they might have been lower than what I wanted them to be. Again, because I'm very driven and a perfectionist, just made me avoid them.
Yep. So we worked through the numbers together. So this isn't quite a live coaching session, but maybe I can describe how a live coaching session works. We went through the numbers of specifically how many leads that you were getting through social media, and we had to rely on your memory. And I thought to myself, well, it doesn't matter. Even if we're kind of 20 or 30% outside of the actual numbers, it won't make a material difference in this discussion. So then we spoke about how many leads you were getting through your social media and then how many leads you were getting from your cold outreach. And it turned out that almost all of the leads you were generating was coming from your cold outreach, which would probably reconcile with what my, internal working hypothesis was. In my head, I thought, she's fucking panicking. And she thinks what she needs to do is go out and do more and more and more and more networking.
Yeah,
and she's
that's
actually
what I was thinking.
right, and she's ignoring the ugly truth. And the ugly truth is you've got to be in market and you've got to be initiating the conversations, which is by essence or in essence cold outreach.
Yeah.
Then we sat and so then I said, I think, Tracy, if all your leads are coming from cold outreach, how do we do more of that? Then you said, I don't have time.
Yeah.
I can't do it all. And we kind of went down the little kind of dark spiral, which is fine. This is very, very common. Almost all clients do this. So what we actually did was we sat down and we worked out that what Tracy needed was a sales development resource. There was an intervening step. I think you got pissed off and frustrated and just started doing LinkedIn outreach.
Oh, actually, no, I listened to it. Yes, I did. And then I found Hormozy video and he had a great idea. So I just started setting an hour a day aside and then just doing it myself.
So you implemented the golden hour type thing, which is, like everything falls behind.
Yeah, 7 to 8, that was what I did.
Yep. So, and then you started winning a number of deals from that.
That's great.
So I said, I think we need to do more. And you said, I don't have time.
Yeah.
And we kind of unpacked that and worked through that. And in the end, we decided that we would hire a sales development resource. And a sales development resource, for people who aren't familiar, is somebody that does all of that front end work, and their aim is specifically to fill your diary with sales appointments. And we hired Regina, was her name.
Yeah.
Tracy and I went through the interviewing process with Regina, even though Tracy was in love with her before I was actually able to make an assessment. But at the end of the day, and I don't like the vibes, I like the facts. Anyway, so we appointed Regina, and Regina started just by taking that LinkedIn outreach process off your plate. And I think the offer of value off the back of that LinkedIn outreach was a free marketing or brand discovery call.
Brand discovery, yeah.
So Regina's been doing very well with that, and it's enhanced the level of sales that Tracy's been making. And then from that, early this year and off the back of the work, in the back of my mind, I had a thought that what's going to happen is that we're going to squeeze the lemon of LinkedIn cold outreach beyond the pips. We're going to squeeze the lemon, all the juice out of the lemon, and then we'd squeeze it beyond the pips. And I was worried about another dip. And if there was a dip and Tracy's carrying the extra overhead, that creates a bit of stress. So I was like, okay, I've got to get ahead of this. So I sat down and over my break really, really worked hard on how we could enhance this process to further the results that Regina is able to get. So I developed a system and I deliberately almost breadcrumb Tracy across the break by sending her little snippets of the of the system that I'd developed, really just to assimilate her idea, so I didn't have to waste any time with her convincing her of the merits of this. And then what we have done since is actually work through a system that is not just approaching people when they're ready to buy, but it's really starting to educate and provide value to people much, much earlier in the process. And as a consequence of that, Tracy's now developing some assets that can add value to people and building out a sales funnel that's getting people way earlier in the process and working them through, nurturing them through to the extent that hopefully they become live leads. That all came through, I think, 6 coaching sessions.
I think it was,
We kind of got there in the end.
Meltdown.
Yeah. Now, I think also just by virtue of going through that process, my observations are that Tracy's a lot more comfortable with not winning a deal. Because in all of this, like, you just have to make sure that you've got an abundance of leads. So really there was a problem-solving phase of the coaching, which is Tracy's shitting her pants about not having enough sales. There was a, let's say, a triaged solution, which was hire Regina, just getting her doing the stuff that Tracy was doing. There was a more substantial solve, which was a full lead generation system. And then in and amongst all of that was a bit of a mindset shift, which is, Tracy, you can't sell at more than 45%. And even if you tried, like the best salespeople in the world, 55, whatever the number was, the best salesperson in the world might be able to help your sales close rate move from 55 to 60. But the actual numbers, when you look at 55 to 60 versus the numbers of just tripling the leads, which was a lot more feasible. So there was a mindset shift, which was, don't worry about closing them all. You can actually burn a few deals along the way. And it's not burning deals. It's not upsetting people.
Takes the pressure off.
Yeah. So, and when you are selling in a low pressure environment, you're way more likely to close the deal.
Yes, and that's actually happening.
Nothing smells worse than commission breath.
Very, very true. And also with bringing Regina on board, it's really freed up my headspace, because if I sort of tend to fixate on things. So it's freed up my time, freed up my headspace, and it's really generating conversation on LinkedIn, which is great. So it's been really good to see. And most people respond, which is really good.
Most people respond if you, as a lead generation person, are not trying to sell at them, you're trying to add value, and as a consequence you help them buy. And I think that's the big shift that you've probably made. You stopped trying to sell to people, you started helping people buy.
Yeah, so that's what that podcast, or it was a video I think, with Hormozy said. He said just add value as opposed to trying to constantly sell someone. It was just like a light bulb went on.
I'm glad you listened to Alex Hormozy. I've only been saying that to you for the last year.
I do listen. I just take a bit longer.
Yeah.
Well, it stacks, right? It stacks. So my morning routine, I saw the video and I was like, bing, I need to do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, thank you, Paul.
So that's typically how I work, and that's in a one-to-one coaching session. When I'm running an Ignite session, I will walk everybody through specifically, this is the lead generation process you need to follow. Here's all the tools, here's all the resources, and you go and implement it yourself. And if you think about the price point I charge for my one-to-one, it's very much about working with someone and doing the system for them.
Yeah.
When it's Ignite, the price point or the investment somebody needs to make, it's what they're getting access to is my knowledge, me distilling all that information to something that's really absorbable, and then them getting access to all the tools and resources.
And Paul, I'd love for you to quickly touch on, because this is something I underestimated when I started my business, the actual person that owns the business, right? So there's coaches, advisors, they focus so much on the business, but it's actually the person behind the business that goes through this major transformation. And a business will impact every area of your life. I don't care who says what. How do you best prepare your clients for that? Because I completely underestimated that. And I think one of your superpowers is actually really helping that business owner not only grow their business, but actually grow like from a personal growth point of view.
The answer is I don't know, but for just observing where they are in their own journey.
Yeah.
And I can recognise it because I've sat in the seat of being a business owner for so long.
Yeah.
I can see it. It's no special power of mine. It's more I can observe it because I can relate it to what I've been through. And of course you go through a massive transformation.
Yeah.
And I guess I would just relate it to this. An F1 car doesn't win a Grand Prix.
Yeah.
The driver does in the F1 car. Think about the business as the F1 car, the business owner as the driver. You need a great F1 vehicle and you need a great driver. Now, if the driver is nervous when they're driving the car, they're not going to go around the corners fast.
No.
They're going to get beaten, right? Like they won't make it, overtaking them nervous. There's all these sorts of things. Well, that's what you as a business owner need to think like. So, I because I'm algorithmic, I just have these like structures that I think about. So when I'm working with a business owner, I think about their fitness. Like, what does their physical well-being present to me? I think about their fortune. Are they living a comfortable life? Because it's all well and good to say that, business isn't about money. I just call bullshit. That's why you're doing it, for money. It's how you measure what you do.
Yeah.
But you have to live a comfortable, nice life because, you need a lot of breathe out moments. Family, what does their family situation look like? Friends, have they got a good circle of friends? Like, are they hanging out with the right people? Now, it's not for me to tell someone, I think you should change your friendship group. I'm not that patronising, but I do look at those sorts of things because it will change someone's perspective. And finally, fun. Do they have moments in their life where they're having a bit of fun? And I'm not talking about going out and getting drunk. I'm talking about like things that enrich them, fun. So I observe people through that lens of fitness, fortune, family, friends, and fun.
Yeah.
And if I'm seeing someone's like a little bit off the beaten path and going down the wrong direction, I'm no specialist in any one of those areas, but I will say I think you need to think about this. I'm seeing these signs, I'm seeing these signals, or I might just ask a question or two that gets someone thinking about it. Because if they're thinking about it, more often than not, they come back and ask me further questions and I can probably be a bit closer to the truth.
Paul, if you could change one thing about the way business is done in today's world, what would it be?
I'll stop feeling guilty. Everyone feels guilty running a business. If I make lots of money, everyone will think I'm greedy.
Yeah.
If I expect people to do a job they're paid for, everyone will think I'm micromanaging. This kind of whole thing about, that people won't like me for that. No one should like you. You shouldn't be liked. You should be respected. And you'll be respected by being firm in your convictions, fair in your communication style, and friendly in your demeanour. You don't have to be people's friend, but you need to be friendly in their demeanour. So firm in your expectations, firm in your outlook of the world, fair in your expectations, and friendly in your demeanour. And I think if you can live like that, 99% of people are not going to like you and not going to like what you say.
Yeah, something I've accepted. I think something you've taught me really well is to kind of lean in more to being Tracy Fryer.
That's right. Well, otherwise you're not Tracy Fryer.
No, I know, but you always have that thing in the back of your mind, what are people going to think if I say X, Y, Z? Paul, what's next for you? I know you've got your premium one-to-one coaching, your group advisory. What's next?
I want to hit 250 people in Ignite by the end of the year, by 31 December. And I have that as something for everybody to aim at. And that's going to just need a lot of sales and marketing. I think I've got the delivery down pat. I've got the content down pat. I like the impact that the content has. I like the fact that I get lots of follow-up conversations from people in Ignite. So it's really about leaning in on that and continuing to do as much as I can for my premium one-to-one clients because that's such an important part of the work I do.
Yeah.
I'm never going to let that go because I love having conversations with people at the front line.
Again, not a shameless plug, but if you are considering business coaching or business advisory, I can hands down say that working with Paul will definitely change your life, provided you put in all the hard work and don't fight against him too much and go with what he says. Paul, to finish off, if there was one bit of advice you could give your 17-year-old self as a manager of Pizza Hut, what would it be?
I tend to, when I'm a bit nervous about things, I tend to bunt for bases. I just try and take the next thing.
Right.
It's just look for big opportunities and chase them hard. I think that's the secret to life. Look for a big opportunity. Where's there a big problem experienced by lots of people?
Yeah.
Just find that and chase it hard, solve it and just get that solution in amongst people. That is an amazing rocket fuel for business.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for today. Thank you for all that you've shared. And again, thank you for being my first guest in the podcast studio. To all our listeners, if you have got this far through the episode, thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe to our channel below. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.